So, my friend Lemur Joe, a Catholic deacon, no less, and a very, very dear old friend of mine, asked me if John Fonte was essentially a proto Bukowski. That kind of shook me because I kind of forgot that I'm kind of a autodidactic literary type. I never retained that much. And again, it's a pretty obvious query for you literary types out there. They're pretty much far and in between. So yeah, the John Fonte Bukowski, conundrum. Yeah, not the right word, but I'll stick with it. John Fonte was a pretty good, yet almost thoroughly commercial writer. Well, he wrote advertisements and whatnot, essentially kind of a bourgeois type, with some bohemian aspirations. And absolutely not a bad thing at all. I think it's a pretty wonderful thing. I love it when people who actually can write and also make a good living doing it, all for it. As for Fonte's influence upon Bukowski, certainly it's there. I think Bukowski was probably a little overawed at first, but there's no research that I know of available for Bukowski's possible love for Steinbeck. Now, I am a John Steinbeck fan to the hilt. He was indeed the greatest American writer of all time. Absolutely. If you haven't read his stuff, read all of it. Just read all of it. Don't read anything else for a while. And I don't read anymore much because, well, I've read enough and my vision is such and my brain wiring is such that reading in the concrete sense is nearly impossible and certainly not satisfying. But I still know my Steinbeck. I recall my Fonte. As for Bukowski, love me some Bukowski. Bukowski was a much better writer than Fonte, which I think Bukowski would grin. I mean, Bukowski perhaps wrote too much while trying to make a living, and his books were, well, much like Henry Miller, a bit, there's a word I'm looking for. I'm not in the best brain shape today. Repetition. And like Thomas Wolfe, dear God, the recycling is endless. But you can pick and choose. The two who recycle the most are Thomas Wolfe and Henry Miller. And Henry Miller, well, both of them. I don't like Thomas Wolfe much at all. I'm supposed to like him. Kerouac loved him. Well, Kerouac loved him. Kerouac, in the novel, that's town in the city, he was really a paean to good old Wolfe. It's an amazing book. I mean, 3/4 of it is really, I wouldn't consider it really worth writing. The last quarter, the part of the expression beatnik area, part of the book, it's stunning. I think it's called The Day of the Geek, whatever. It's a segment of the novel. Absolutely freaking brilliant. It gets no better than that from my little beatnik sensibilities. Yeah, I think we've gone through John Fonte well enough. Bukowski. I need to just kind of get some stuff on audiobook and just kind of cherry pick some Bukowski. Really brush up. He's worth the brushing up. I really don't need to brush up on Kerouac, nor do I have to brush up on, no, definitely not. Steinbeck and Kerouac, I know them well enough. I don't want to read them again. I really don't, because it makes me sad that my youthful fevers, so tied to those authors, they've, kind of banked down. Books are people who inhabit your brain mansion. And at this point, I'm burning the shingles of my mansion to get some heat from the hearth. That's a nice little play of words. I like that. I like that a lot. Hey, me, I like some of my own stuff once in a while. Most of it is parlor magic and dross, but yeah, it's fun to do. Most people aren't really literary enough to figure out that it's a fraud. But it's a well-intended fraud, and it's not stolen. Yep, it's homemade dross. That's derivative. I can call it derivative. But all good literature's derivative. The novel itself is derivative. I can't explain that one, and maybe I'm totally wrong, but I'm just pulling stuff out of my ass here anyway, because I can, and it doesn't matter, because nobody could have put any thought into it. Now I'm feeling sorry for myself. Oh, I am feeling sorry for myself. Once in a while, you're allowed. You earn the right to do that. And I'm old and I can get away with it. So screw you, Sprouts. There hasn't been any good literature in the last 40 years, so we all get to live with that. Is art dead? Well, people's inability to absorb art, to build on it, to know their history with some degree of objectivity, gone. That makes me sad. It's definitely the death of something. Is the death important in the context of today's culture? No. I'll give that a resounding no. Oh, that's why I'm stuck here. Burning my shingles. Heating my cranky old bones. God, I'm a piece of work. But I gotta thank my friend Lemur Joe for giving me something to chew on for this 10 minutes plus 15 minutes of thinkerating. So it's not bad for a quarter hour's work. Is it?